Hey, everybody, what's going on? I hope that your week has been lived well and that you are at peace and blessed. I just wanted to hop on just to briefly share um, some lessons that I've learned already from my Achilles tendon rupture that I believe are connected with the burnout experience, but more importantly, the burnout recovery experience. Recently, just ruptured my Achilles tendon and had surgery this morning. Everything went well. Grateful for that. And at home, resting and following all of the doctor's order, both the surgeon and the in-house doctor, my wife, who is also obviously going to be a part of the PT team, as that is her industry and field. But yeah, there are a couple of things that I've learned thus far that I see a very deep connection to the burnout recovery experience that I believe also is very important for you if you are experiencing burnout and you are wanting to begin your own journey of recovery. The first thing that is connected and probably the most obvious is that it takes time to rehab. um, Obviously, going in and finding out that it was ruptured, the earliest that they're telling me that I will be able to get back to my sporting activities and movement consistent necessary for exercise and things of that nature is about 6 months. Now, obviously, it could be a little bit longer. I'm giving myself a little bit time because the thing that I keep hearing now is that you are getting a little older. The reality is that you will need a little bit more time to rehab just to ensure that you don't re-injure the same Achilles, so the same tendon. So there is time necessary for rehab. Obviously, the injury, what's extremely interesting is the injury only took a matter of seconds to happen, but the recovery is going to take a lot longer. And for some of us that have recently come across the experience of burnout, or maybe have been experiencing burnout but have not actually addressed it, there is a recovery time that is much longer than you may necessarily want to experience. That's necessary to prevent burnout from reoccurring. Um, you've got to take the necessary time to rehab so that, as the doctors have told me, so that I don't re-injure the have the same injury or injuries related to, because the body is so deeply connected. Injuries related to not rehabbing well. So that's the first lesson. It takes time to rehab from my injury as well as burnout. The second lesson that is extremely important is understand the plan and the process. When I injured my Achilles, I was pretty aware that that's what happened. My dad actually had the same injury. He told me about the sound, the pop that you hear, the infamous pop that you hear, as well as the sense that somebody kicked you in your leg. And while the pain wasn't excruciating, I experienced both of those, and so felt pretty confident that that was what happened. There was also another unique experience that I had where I experienced
I
my.
didn't understand that.
Oh, I guess Google wants to join the combo. But I had the experience where my my legs felt as though they were on two different steps, even though they were both on the same plane. And so that messed with my mind a bit. But of course, I learned a lot more about just what a rupture is once I spoke with the doctors, and once the my surgeon told me what the plan of action would be to move forward. And many times the same is true when it comes to burnout. We can be acquainted with the intensity of what it feels like and lack an awareness and clarity about what's going on. And so while we may be clear about, I'm actually experiencing this intense overwhelm, um, this sense that I'm extremely fatigued emotionally, physically, even, and I am chained or somewhat tethered internally in a way that I can't explain. There's a lack of clarity about all that goes on with it, and so this clarity about what's going on is as important as taking the time to rehab. Because what can often happen, as uh, mental health professionals often point to, is that if you can't name what you're going through, or if you can't name or put a definition to what you're experiencing, the lack of clarity can lead you down misdiagnosis, one, but also just an inability to connect the dots in a meaningful way. So yeah, that's the second lesson. So the time necessary for rehab is also, again, obviously it can vary from person to person, the time necessary for rehab or for recovery from burnout. There's also obviously the understanding of the process. What's happening? What's going on? What are the emotions? What has triggered this? Um, what are the lessons that I can learn from this? How can I leverage this? Understand the process as you're going through your journey of recovery. And the last but not least thing that I want to share is the necessity for support. The necessity for support. Obviously, when the injury happened, I came home, eventually went to the emergency room that same night, confirmed that it was a rupture. While there were people that wheeled me to the room, that offered me crutches, um, put me in a stent rather, and um, a splint rather, I'm sorry. And also, of course, there's the scheduling for surgery. Of course, when I go to surgery, I was told before going in for the surgery, that I could not drive myself, but that I had to have a driver and a caretaker for at least 24 hours. And so, the same is true in the burnout recovery experience. It may not obviously look like that, as it is related to my injury, but there is the need for support. There is the need for community, whether that is in family, friends that you can trust, that you are safe being vulnerable with, that you are safe being completely honest with, and still knowing that you are accepted, whether that's a counselor, a coach, someone that can guide you through the journey with understanding and knowledge, preferably someone that has been through the experience and is growing through the experience and or has overcome the experience already. Because there are few people I've discovered that have been able to do the recovery journey on their own, but more times than not, we need others in our corner to walk with us, to be companions along the journey, in order for the healing to be effective, complete, and restorative. And so, hey, just wanted to share that with you. Just want to encourage you again, as I often mention, that burnout is an invitation to begin living again. Peace out. Be blessed and live well. I'm just seeing some of the comments that were coming in. I appreciate all the speedy recovery. messages and to get well soon. I really appreciate it. Um, I was playing. Seth asked me what was I doing. Playing basketball. I think I was doing a basic defensive slide, and I heard the pop in that towards the end of the game. And yeah, so the rest is history at this point. So that's what happened. Absolutely. Well, hey, folks, take care of yourself. Be well, live well, and we'll talk soon.